stand by.
Yeah.
Oh yes, my Straight Talk family, I do want to apologize for that tardy start. I was trying to get some things up and running and had a special surprise for you tonight, but I'm going to give you in a different form. But for now, I am duty-bound to say a very pleasant evening to St. Kitts and Nevis and to the entire Caribbean region. I say hello to my Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora who are all over the world, on the World Wide Web. So I can say good night, I will say good morning, and I will also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings is applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. I want to welcome you, and I do apologize for the tardy start tonight due to a little technical difficulty which went beyond our control. But we'll make up for that, my Straight Talk family. And for those who are joining me for the first time, there are some of you in Africa, some of you in Asia, in Europe, and a whole lot of you all over North America. So I say greetings to all and welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. Again, I do apologize for the late start. But my Straight Talk family, they are many times first timers, so I wish to inform you, if you are just bumped into me for the first time, or someone just told you about you and you just got around to me, Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us in the process strive to get St. Kitts and Nevis back to the top and back to being, if not the freest, one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation, my Straight Talk family, on yet another occasion. And on a solemn note, we normally at times do our obituaries, and I heard the passing of Ralph Barpy Daly, and I asked his sister about him about a week ago. She told me he was doing okay, so I was a bit surprised. I heard he's gone to the great beyond. So to his sister Yvette and the entire family, I extend heartfelt condolences to the family and all those who have lost loved ones. We normally as well have what we call our observations in review, a time when we highlight the issues and do some reflection. We then ask a few questions such as what was accomplished, how has it helped others, what has changed since, and what can be expected next. Also, what new we have learned as a people. And our first observation tonight, my Straight Talk family, it's in the form of a press release, first of all, that Straight Talk received from the People's Labour Party, which reads, and I quote, "On Thursday, 23rd March 2023, the National Executive members of the PLP met to discuss the way forward for the holding of its annual National Convention. The National Convention, the National Executive, Committee recognized that the term of all the executive members except that of the National Party leader and Deputy National Party leader expires on the Monday the 27th March, that's today, 2023. The National Party leader thanked all officers for their service over the last year. To ensure that the annual National Convention is held in accordance with the party's constitution, the National Executive passed a resolution mandating a 7-member National Convention Planning and Implementation Committee 2023 to ensure that the annual National Convention is held by the 27th of June 2023. The National Executive of the PLP is in high spirits and is quite optimistic. It is quite optimistic that the upcoming National Executive, will fulfill the mandate of the party to rebuild better and stronger. And since that time, since receiving a copy of this release, Straight Talk also became privy to the resignation of the PLP Deputy National Leader, Akila Byron Nisbet, and one other member. And this is what transpired in relation to the resignation of Akila Byron Nisbet.
Forced into an early election as the team unity construct collapsed. The people spoke, and the new administration was ushered in under the leadership of Dr. Terence True. After the elections, I did some soul searching to determine the best path forward. What I did realize is that the party and leadership I once believed in had strayed away from its core principles, which no longer aligned with mine. I, therefore, must state here that I have made the decision to step away from the umbrella of the People's Labour Party with Dr. Timothy Harris as leader. As of today, March 24th, 2023, I am no longer a part of the executive or the member of the People's Labour Party.
And that release coming from Deputy Leader or former Deputy Leader, now former Deputy Leader of the PLP, Akila Byron Nisbet. And here's what my Straight Dog family, I caught up with the national leader of the People's Labour Party and former Prime Minister, the Honorable Timothy Sylvester Harris. And he was rather gracious to agree to be with us just for a few minutes in response to all that transpired on the weekend, in particular with the resignation of his former deputy, Akila Byron Nisbet. Timothy Harris, the Honorable Timothy Harris, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am here. And let me say good night to the Straight Talk family and thank you for the opportunity to speak to members of the Straight Talk family.
Always a pleasure to have you. What is your response to all that went on, and in particular with the resignation or resignations in respect of the PLP?
I would want to start with the release from the party, because I think that sets out clearly where they're at. We're at a particular juncture where the party, in keeping with the constitutional provisions, must now look at the annual convention in accordance with Article 5. And in compliance with that obligation, we held a meeting of the executive last Thursday day. We had a wonderful turnout and a very interested uh, group of persons who had come to discuss the way forward. And the critical way forward now really is to get the business of the convention going, put in place the necessaries so that that could be fulfilled. And we have a team, a strong team, a resilient team, ready, willing, and able to take the party forward. That particular meeting was a success. And as you have just said, we knew that by weekend, the positions or the offices held by all members and the national executive would have been vacated, save for those held by myself and the deputy leader. Those offices were mandated for a 2-year term. So when we hear of resignations, we have to take that into account in any event. In a few days after the executive meeting on Thursday, those offices would have been vacated anyway. So we are into almost an academic exercise. And the question then would be, those who are desiring of continuing their involvement would have had to go to the convention to have themselves restored. In the context of the particular resignation that you have highlighted of the deputy leader, again, we have responded to that, and I won't add more because the business of the future is very weighty, and it is that at this time that we are paying attention to. We thank the deputy leader for her service to the party, and of course, we move on to the critical item, which is really hosting an agenda at which, hosting the convention at which time deputy leader and other officers of the party will be in place, and the party will move forward in a very steady way to deliver in accordance with the expectation of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so we are very focused. I should tell you that last Thursday there was a high degree of unity among the executive officers. We left there in very high spirit, high enthusiasm. And since that time, the energy has been very high. We put in place a 7-member committee to begin the work. And that work has already started and will continue. And of course, until the convention, a successful convention, is delivered on or before the 27th of June 2023.
Okay. I say, okay, Prime Minister. Once the Prime Minister, always a Prime Minister, no doubt. Anything you want to add before you?
Well, to add only to say that the PLP is a party that is no stranger to challenges. In fact, we were born out of challenges in the 2013 when we became or we formed that party. We had the challenge of emotion of no confidence before the country. We had the challenge of an economy that basically was not delivering. And everywhere you went in the country, as we are now hearing, nothing now go on for the bus. And we are back at that particular juncture. In 2023, we had the troubles with the government failing to be accountable. We are back at that particular juncture again. And so there's an urgency for us to move forward in a united way. And I believe that our convention will assist us in that regard. I am very, very, very energized to do the work that needs to be done. And going forward, you will see a lot more work being done at all units of the party, the general membership, the party executives, the women's arm, the youth arm, the constituency groups. All those are going to be dealt with and are being dealt with. Even as we are speaking now, we are getting calls from every constituency, getting their membership up to date, getting their members in good standing and wanting to make a contribution to the party. We must not forget that the CLP was the party that delivered when others could not have. We twice in a row brought the country a government of national unity through team unity, very successfully, very successful. We were in government 7 of the best years in the history of this country. those 7 years were delivered under team unity government, and I'm happy to say under my leadership. The future is what we have to consecrate, and I believe that we are ready to do so. The distractions that you may hear from time to time is not a reflection of what is happening in the party. In fact, the party remains strong, will continue to be even stronger after its upcoming convention, and we will see a lot more work being done. I want to say thank you to all those persons who came out last Thursday and all those who continue to show high interest. People have been calling us wanting to be candidates, wanting to serve in a variety of ways. So we are not really concerned about noise. We are concerned about the serious work that needs to be done. And I'm happy to say that there's a lot of enthusiasm, not just in the country, but in the diaspora for a PLP administration. We will not disappoint the people of the country.
Well, PM Harris, former PM Harris, I want to thank you for taking the time out to provide some clarification. And I'm aware that, as you said, PLP and Timothy Harris himself has faced many challenges in the past. And that famous line of yours, if I perish, I perish. So I can see opportunities coming out from this challenge. I'm going to take a risk, a big risk, and give you 30 seconds to make your final point.
The last point, we are a democratic party. And so we welcome all. People are welcome to come into the party and to serve the party faithfully, loyally, and consistently, not in a part-time way. And equally, people are free to go. Our job always is to ensure that the net is an addition in favor of the party. And I believe out there, around the larger community, the People's Labour Party continues to be the most favored political party. And that is why everyone is busy, occupied talking and sometimes criticizing the PLP, because that is really the alternative that is there. Again, thanks to the 5,000 plus persons who voted in support of a PLP administration under my leadership, and thanks to the 1,000 more who will come on board to ensure that the country is put in right hands, capable, competent hands of patriotic citizens who will be for all seasons, not for some times, not for just serving in office, but out of office, always putting the best interests of the people and the country in the forefront. So thank you again.
Thank you very much. Timothy Sylvester Harris, former Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. That impromptu discussion with the party leader of the People's Labour Party, or national leader, I should say, of the People's Labour Party, reacting to the resignations, in particular the resignation of his deputy leader. So we'll have him sometime, no doubt, on video. We did, in fact, had some technical difficulties. That's why we did not get a video with Timothy Harris. But that was our first observation in review, my Straight Talk family, we looked rather at the PLP special meeting and the upcoming convention, which is on the 27th of June 2023. So I'm sure many look forward to what will the PLP rule out. On our last episode in last week, mention was made, and this is my second observation in review, and mention was made of this popular DJ and talk show host who displayed a 380 automatic weapon on social media for the whole world to see. We made no comment on this, what many call irresponsible act. And as someone put it to me, even as late as today, it seemed like a monkey from St. Martin holding a gun. 1 week or more after, in a report from several media platforms, including ZIZ television and radio, just 1 week later, believe it or not, my Straight Dog family, the country learned of this double murder in the Stapleton village area on St. Kitts, according to Scottisha Hendrickson of ZIZ Television News, who reported this.
The police are investigating a shooting incident at Stapleton Village that resulted in the death of 2 young men. This incident occurred at about 2 a.m. on Saturday, 25th March. Investigations have revealed so far that a group of men were playing cards in a yard when a lone gunman wearing a hoodie entered the yard and opened fire on them. 2 of the men were shot and a 3rd man sustained a broken leg in his attempt to escape. Dead are Jermaine Henry, 35, of Stapleton Village, who died at the scene, and Denzel Edwards, 34, also of Stapleton Village, who died shortly after at the Josephine France General Hospital.
Now, Straight Talk is not aware of any comment whatsoever made by the elected representative of the area, who is also the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security. This sadly has brought the number of homicides in St. Kitts and Nevis to 6, 5 on St. Kitts and 1 on Nevis, and all are gun related. It has also evoked much comment about the current disposition of the Alternative Lifestyle or Peace Program, which Straight Talk understands is still under review by the Jew administration. And it's been under review for the past 7 months. And this is the comment, I call it sad comment, coming from the Prime Minister and Minister with responsibility for national security.
We have come to recognize that there was a program in place that had not been fully built out, that there were a lot of gaps. It's almost as if you were putting a plaster on a sore. And so one of our first measures is to strengthen what is called the Alternative Lifestyle Program. And so we have started a process of registering with we have also engaged consultants who will be doing programs, specific programs. Not only, there will be some that consult with consultants who will now start in earnest a program specifically geared at youths at risk. That program is due to start, I would say, next month, and we are going to streamline the program.
My Straight Talk family, for the good doctor to liken the peace program to a plaster on a sore is so disingenuous. If not, it is a sad display of ignorance that has led to the removal of the said plaster, according to him. But to date, it has resulted in 6 murders. If Prime Minister Drew is honest for once, he would admit that prior to 2015, there were 35 murders under the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration. And in 2019, the warring factions approached the police And the National Security Advisor, Major General Saunders, gave us this account.
These factions that were warring in the society approached the police, and they basically stated that they wanted to stop the violence amongst themselves, their communities, etc. So they wanted us to help them to turn over a new leaf, to try and become far more useful persons as far as the society is concerned. To cut a long story short, we engaged, right? And we engaged with a structure. The structure required 2 engagement teams, one in St. Kitts, one in Nevis. We had an administrative component which operating out of the Department of People Empowerment. This component operates like a review management board for rehabilitation and reintegration purposes, and it operated under basically the auspices of the interim gang strategy, which had been put in place in March 2019.
My Straight Talk family, to say there was a plaster on a sore is such an insult to the 2 initial engagement teams, one on St. Kitts and one on Nevis. And for reasons of security, I shall not call their names. But there had to be a structure.
There had to be a structure when we got this thing going, right? Had to be a structure in place, and we had a structure for all the persons that were involved in the various groups out there, with supervisors to actually manage the day-to-day routine of these individuals, keep everybody in check, and we had our own monitoring system on top of that, right? On the other side of the administrative aspect, they had a finance officer, and we had field officers who also go out and check and make sure that everything that they are supposed to be doing is being done, right? And so we commenced this partnership, right, with a number of ministries: the Ministry of Social Services, Community Development and Gender Affairs, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, and the STEP program was also involved, right, as we developed the program moving forward. And I must say from the very onset that the support we have had from permanent secretaries in the ministries named and the Office of the Prime Minister has been an invaluable asset throughout this particular journey.
And my Straight Dog family, if for a moment the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security would take off his political goggles, he would then tell St. Kitts and Nevis that these at-risk groups even establish their own businesses and engage as well in apprenticeships, my Straight Dog family.
Individuals in the program have availed themselves of opportunities offered, and some in fact have already started their own businesses, right? And some, having done that, have been weaned from the program. And all of the activities, just for interest's sake, include car rentals, public transportation, business activities. Other persons, based on the structure and the program that we have going, have been offered and have subsequently taken up apprenticeships, right, in areas such as plumbing, drywall partitioning, electrical installation, mechanical engineering, and recently tiling, bodywork on vehicles, painting, vehicle detailing, and a number of them are in the construction or working in the construction industries.
The Prime Minister had to be in another St. Kitts and Nevis to speak the way he did about the retired Commissioner of Police and his connection with the peace program.
I want to say to our people that with respect to the recent increase in that short period of crime, that is not really a trend, that the forces are really putting things together. But we'll see a change in the leadership of the police with a different twist positively of how we wish to do things, that we want to see things put in place to help them to transition from a life of gang into a productive life. And we will make sure that we continue to work towards creating those opportunities for them.
My Straight Dog family, to say that it was like a plaster on a sore is sad. And I hold no brief for retired Commissioner of Police, Hilroy Brandy, but I submit that he has left a great legacy after 42 unbroken years in law enforcement, starting at the very bottom rung of the ladder and took all the steps or the rungs to the top. He left the Federation in a spirit of peace and harmony. Kudos to Commissioner or retired Commissioner Brandy.
Here it is that we are finding a situation where the at-risk groups in general that are not known for developing the kind of trust and confidence in law enforcement officers are now basically depending on them for a number of things. And this sort of trust and confidence that I'm speaking about has to do largely with the efforts of the Commissioner of Police, his staff and members of his organization. They have really been performing a sterling role in that respect. So there's a renewed trust and confidence in the police that is being displayed also by citizens, as they feel the police are making great strides in guaranteeing safety and security. The program right now is administering some 580 youths. That in effect, I think, has been instrumental in creating, right, this degree of peace and harmony, that a lot of people are speaking about.
And that number may have increased. But I must also make mention of ACP Adi Adams, who was so critical and perhaps still is so critical to this alternative lifestyle program. Prime Minister Drew spoke to the sourcing of consultants. And this has derived the question, where is the National Security Advisor, Major General Saunders? And is the Prime Minister still not consulting with him? And if so, why? Wherever is Major General Saunders, he too must also hold his head high as he helped our country under Team Unity to enjoy an unprecedented peace and security in the land. My Straight Talk family. Remember, we moved from 35 murders just before 2015 to 12, I believe the figure was, in 2022.
Our country and people are enjoying unprecedented peace and stability. The tension in the land that was very pervasive in 2015 has now disappeared, and a beautiful spirit of calm and civility has taken root.
And that's, or those, I should say, are my observations in review for tonight, my Straight Dog family. And in the interest of time, I'll move right into my thesis without delay, which I have entitled, Citizens Demand Equal Justice Under the Law. And I'm sure we will agree that no one is above the law and no one is under the law. Equal justice for all means that everyone has equal justice under the law. Another important idea is the rule of law. And the rule of law means that everyone must obey the law, and no one is above the law. And this means that the government and its leaders must also obey the law. If nobody is above the law, then it means everybody, including those who write laws, whether they are politicians and or the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin, who is the chief legal advisor and has responsibility for our legislative agenda, then I dare say even Garth Wilkin cannot be above the law. No, we never accept that.
I am the facilitator primarily, just from a parliament standpoint, from a law standpoint. I'm the facilitator of the government's legislative agenda. So I'm the person that is in charge of ensuring that the promises that were made in the manifesto, the promises made to the electorate during the election, are fulfilled by way of legislation. Right?
Would it be an oversimplification to say you're the government's lawyer?
Yes.
Okay.
In the Constitution, it says the Attorney General is the primary legal advisor to the government.
Okay.
So that's, first and foremost, constitutionally, that's what the Attorney General does. And then the Attorney General is also in charge of the legislative agenda.
In charge of our legislative agenda, then should he break the law? If nobody is above the law, then it means everybody, including those who enforce these laws, police officers, and the like, they must abide by the rule of law. Way back in 1891, I think it was, Chief Justice Melville Fuller, in a case Caldwell versus Texas, wrote on behalf of a unanimous court that, and I quote, "The powers of the states in dealing with crime within their borders are not limited, but no state can deprive particular persons or classes of persons of equal and impartial justice under the law." Think about it. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, that is considered by all as a milestone document in the history of human rights. The declaration was drafted by representatives with different legal and cultural backgrounds from all regions around the world, and was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, in Paris on the 10th of December 1948 via General Assembly Resolution 217A as a common standard of achievements for all peoples and all nations. The UDHR consists of 30 articles, if my memory serves me well, and there are 7 preambles, or what we can call introductory statements, which explicitly outline the purpose of the declaration as a living document. Permit me, however, to refer to preambles 1 and 3 as a point of departure for my thesis tonight, which reads, and I quote, "Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas it is essential, if a man is not to be compelled to have recourse as a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by the rule of law." Despite the rule of law being a cornerstone of almost every progressive society on earth, here in St. Kitts Nevis, it seems as though some people think that the less privileged in our society should live outside of this umbrella. And once we allow this to happen, it means that the less privileged in our society would not have access to basic legal rights, protections, and remedies. Because there is empirical evidence that not only does this exclusion significantly impact the lives of those individuals, but it also impacts the overall stability, safety, economic health, and social progress of many countries around the world. But what many right-minded people are saying tells us a person's wealth or prominence should not influence his eligibility for public employment or affect the justice he receives. If we examine the judicial oath, for example, it requires judges to administer justice without respect to persons and to do equal right to the poor and to the rich. And that principle must apply to the lawyer working at the Social Security Board, Lawyer Charles, whenever he's dealing with delinquent contributors or employers. He must do equal right to the little contractor and to the powerful Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin. He have taken 54 local employers to the court. Why isn't the powerful Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin the 55th? No man is above the law, and no man is below it. Nor do we have to ask any man's permission when we ask him to obey the law. Obedience to the law is demanded as a right, not asked as a favor. Blind obedience to the law is an attribute of a good citizen. On the contrary, defying the law in any form is delinquency, which deserves to be condemned. Just like how we must condemn, we ought to condemn, we should always condemn the delinquency of Garth Lucian Wilkin when it relates to his Social Security contributions. A law-abiding conformist is an asset for our society, while the law-breaking contrarian is a veritable liability. The rule of law, I submit, is to be held up or upheld at all times. From all historical accounts, following the demise of our first national hero, Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, the rule of law was uprooted by short-sighted successive governments that set it aside for political advantage or political expediency. And this is my fundamental point, my straight dog family. Democracy breaks down when public officials do not respect the law. That is why the question looms large as to whether our Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin has the moral compass to guide us in areas of good governance, transparency, and accountability. He was castigated by the High Court judge, and instead of apologizing, he makes excuses that he pays or his payment in batches. No intention to apologize for breaking the law that he is required to uphold. He said he paid in batches. And if you examine that statement, between November 2020 and January 2023, 26 months, he paid in 3 batches. Batch 1, he paid on November 2020. He paid rather from November 2020 to March 2021. On April 2021, after he was elected president of the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association on March the 31st. Elections, as I said, were conducted on Wednesday, March the 31st, during the association's annual general meeting. And you know what? Garth Lucian Wilkin, the new president, stated. He said the bar intends to play an active role in promoting the administration of justice and the rule of law in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's what he said. But having said that, his second batch, he paid for 50 months from May 2021 to August 2022, the very day before he was sworn in as AG on August the 13th, 2022. The very day before my Straight Dog family.
Oath of office. I, Garth Lucian Wilkin, do swear that I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis, and the law, that I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my abilities, discharge my duties as senator in the National Assembly, and do right to all manner of people, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
I might be publicly embarrassing some people, which might actually be worse than going to prison. I'm contemplating whether I should do that, and I'm minded more so about 70-30 to embarrass some people who might not have been corrupt, but were, I don't want to use the word I used earlier, but not very friendly towards our treasury, and I'm not going to tolerate that, and I'm going to embarrass some people.
Imagine that, my Straight Dog family. And we need to repeat these things and let the world know the kind of Attorney General we have in this country. The Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin and the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs held the Bible in his hand and swore before God, the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the world, to uphold the Constitution and the law. But he failed us all. His third batch, he paid for 4 months, from September to December 2022, in January 2023, after being appointed Attorney General. He broke the law. And what forced him to pay that batch is unknown to Straight Talk. Many say that his nanny could not get her CBI dividends. We do not know. We cannot confirm that. But how can we forgive the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin? Give him a pass when he continues to be economic with the truth. And my Straight Talk family, there's some clarification I want to provide for those apologists who seem to have taken to the airwaves to distract us from the facts. And the facts are, in his sworn affidavit that he filed, he meaning the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin, he filed with the High Court on January the 12th, 2022. Garth Lucian Wilkin wrote, this is his affidavit he filed with the court. And he wrote, I, Garth Lucian Wilkin, of Almonds in the parish of St. George, in the island of St. Christopher, being duly sworn, make oath and say as follows. I'm over the age of 18 and understand the obligations of an oath. I am the Attorney General and Federal Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs of St. Christopher and Nevis, having been so appointed on August 13, 2022. I am an attorney at law, licensed to practice in St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat and Anguilla. Prior to becoming Attorney General and Minister, I was President of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association from 2021 to 2022. That's when he broke the law as well. I have an unblemished disciplinary record in my chosen profession of law. And prior to being appointed Attorney General and the Minister, I was a partner in the prestigious law firm of Kelsick, Wilkin, and Ferdinand. And here are some of the facts. And I won't read the whole affidavit because it's about 39 or 40 pages. He had time. But paragraph 43 reads, and I want you, my Straight Dog family, to listen carefully. Under the caption, the third defamation, non-payment of Social Security contributions. Paragraph 43 reads, and I quote, I am aware that if the Social Security contributions are not paid on behalf of an employee, the Social Security Board can take the non-payer to court to recover same. So why, after 50 months, Garth Lucien Wilkin was not taken to court? Was it a privilege? But go to paragraph 48, my Straight Dog family. Paragraph 48. It reads, the Social Security Board has never contacted me about outstanding payments, nor am I subject to any litigation by the Social Security Board regarding any outstanding payments for Ms. Grant or at all. In fact, all of my Social Security Board contributions were made, listen to this carefully, they were made when I attended at the Social Security Board offices, voluntarily prearranged with personnel there who printed my forms. You see what privilege? Printed my forms, I signed them, and I rendered the necessary checks for the sums due, my Straight Dog family. And he signed this affidavit, sworn by Notary Public, no doubt, Dennis Merchant, on the 12th of January 2023. But my Straight Dog family, the consultant, Walter Gardner, was retained most recently by the Social Security Board on its 45th anniversary. And he told his trainees the secret to Social Security success. Here's what he said.
Good morning, my name is Walter Gardner. I'm a consultant, project manager for the Turks and Caicos Islands Social Security Scheme. I'm here in the beautiful island of St. Kitts and Nevis, conducting some training for the compliance and inspectorate department, so I'm here for 2 weeks. The secret to Social Security success is that we all contribute. Everyone contributes in a timely manner in order for Social Security to be sustainable. All employers ensure that you pay the contributions for your employees on time, because not to do so is a criminal offense.
Straightforward. Not to do so is a criminal offense in accordance with the Social Security Act. Read Section 45, all those who are trying to apologize for Garth Lucien Wilkin. The Social Security Actuary Derek Osborne warned that compliance makes the Social Security system work. He warned that. If you don't comply, how can the Social Security system work?
Probably more importantly, I think, is the fact that we need to find a way to ensure that people who are supposed to pay only get a business license renewed, or only get to drive taxi, or get to be a doctor or lawyer in the private sector
if they're compliant with Social Security, right? Checks and balances in place. If you don't pay on the right hand, you can't practice on the left hand. Let's make sure that everybody's compliant to make the system better.
If everybody's compliant, then the system will be better. But the Attorney General obviously enjoys a privilege, unlike those 54 persons who have been taken to the court by the Social Security Board, my Straight Dog family. The question is, therefore, the question before us, is there a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs? Whether he should continue as the Federation's chief or principal legal advisor is not a difficult question to answer, because at paragraph 37 of the decision handed down by High Court Judge Her Ladyship Tamara Gill on February 16, she opined that A.G. Wilkins' actions constitute a criminal offense whether or not the law is strictly enforced. The Social Security Board can even tomorrow, if Lawyer Charles has the fortitude, the moral fortitude, he would take action against the AG. And I'm happy that many right-thinking citizens are seeing the light.
And I'm saying it loud and clear today. I don't think that building should be, as much as I agreed when they chose him, I think he needs to remove himself from the position. And I'm going to make inquiries, because if I can take it to some commission of inquiry, I will. Even though I don't know if it's going to make sense, because it's thousands of dollars spent. Lawyers were brought in from all over. And what happened? Nothing.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but once the AG paid his nanny, it can be deemed that he has made the deduction for the Social Security contribution, and that money is now held in trust. And according to the Social Security legislation, a contribution must, it says, shall be filed monthly, and payment of that monthly contribution shall be paid before the end of the ensuing month, or else the employer commits a criminal offense. The AG did not even file a contribution statement for 15 successive months. And what's a criminal offense? It can only be a type of wrongdoing that may be punished by a fine or jail. And that tells us that Garth Lucian Wilkin could have gone to jail. Or as the Social Security Act puts it, he could have been in prison. Let me tell you what the Social Security Act states as Section 45, subsection 1, and I quote, it says, any insured person or employer who fails to pay at or within the time prescribed for the purpose of any contribution which he or she is liable under this act to pay shall, for each failure, be liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding $200 or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 6 months or both. It has nothing to do with whether others didn't pay or not. All who are guilty, find them. Take them to jail if that is required, so the system can work. Don't you want the system to work? The standards set for the Attorney General cannot be the same. Yet he went to the court under the guise of seeking equity, when in fact the real aim was to stifle freedom of expression in our land. I heard many say that this decision is not on the court portal. He perhaps has his influence to keep it off the court website as well. His conduct, my Straight Dog family, only serve to remind us of the well-known doctrine. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. And I'm a strong proponent of this statement. No matter what they say, the decision of the court is clear. Very, very clear, my Straight Dog family. And it says, a social security payment after the time prescribed by the legislation constitutes a criminal offense, whether or not the law is strictly enforced. And my Straight Dog family, I want to raise a matter in conclusion. I want to raise a matter, first of all, in terms of the communication to the Bar Association. The Bar Association's chairperson has, via email, confirmed receipt of my communication. I communicated with the Bar Association to seek guidance on the correct procedure that should be followed, given the importance of these matters to the law profession and the public at large, as most of these offenses occurred when the Attorney General was in fact the president of the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association. I would have thought as well that the Bar Association itself should consider what actions are appropriate given the decision of the court. But if any action is dependent on a member of the bar or a private citizen, and it is in this context I solicited the guidance. But I want to make the point, my Straight Dog family, because I heard a lady whom I know very well made this comment on radio today.
Calling back concerning that situation with the AG, you have to understand that even though people with oil, electricity, water, social security, from a personal standpoint, you have to recognize that if the nanny had fallen ill and her contributions were not made in full, and she tried to make a claim, you realize that that would have put her in a little jeopardy? That is very serious, I don't mean to be funny here now, because I am an ardent supporter of this government. I know I can't be anything else based on my family background, rooted in the Labour Party. But whenever there are issues, we can't sweep them under the rug. And I say we and not me, because if I want to be fair, I want to be factual about anything I'm calling about. Think for a moment that if that nanny had fallen ill and were to make a claim, you know why it is in the spotlight now? Because Mr. Wilkin is the Attorney General. That's why it's in the spotlight. Because somebody in Social Security gave Patches the information.
My Straight Dog family, I admire this lady, Miss Byron. I'm not certain if it's Gwyneth or Merle Byron. I'm not certain which one, but I know her well. She worked for many years, as she always stated publicly, at the Scotia Bank, or the Bank of Nova Scotia. But Miss Byron said that somebody gave Patches the information. I'm going to play it back, the soundbite, for you to hear yourselves.
Calling back concerning that situation with the AG, you have to understand that even though people with oil, electricity, water, social security, from a personal standpoint, You have to recognize that if the nanny had fallen ill and her contributions were not made in full, and she tried to make a claim, you realize that that would have put her in a little jeopardy? That is very serious, you know. I don't mean to be funny here now, because I am an ardent supporter of this government. I know I can't be anything else based on my family background, rooted in the Labour Party. But whenever there are issues, we can't sweep them under the rug. And I say we and not me, because I want to be fair, I want to be factual about anything I'm calling about. Think for a moment that if that nanny had fallen ill and were to make a claim, you know why it is in the spotlight now? Because Mr. Wilkin is the Attorney General. That's why it's in the spotlight. Because somebody in Social Security gave Patches the information.
And the latter part is the part I take serious umbrage with. And I don't know if Miss Byron is listening. I admire her. I admire her forthrightness. She's always assertive. And although, as she said, she is born, I'm paraphrasing here, born out of the bowels of labor. Those are not her exact words, but that's what she meant, my interpretation. I believe that she went beyond and has stepped into the realms of libel. And I would want Miss Byron, if she's listening to the program tonight, the number is 663-6672. Or she can send an email to straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. Or she should try to reach me at 662-3617. I will accept that call from her. And I will really want Miss Byron to retract her statement to which somebody in Social Security gave Patches the information. She likes to be fair, she said, and to be factual. But that is neither fair or factual. It is totally erroneous. Because, Miss Byron, you cannot find any evidence whatsoever to prove that someone in Social Security gave me the information. Because, in fact, this is Garth Lucian Wilkins' affidavit. I put it to the cameras. Garth Lucian Wilkins' affidavit of 12th January 2023, notarized by former Attorney General Dennis Merchant. And attached to his affidavit are exhibits. There are some 26 C3 forms, I think, C3 forms, which outlines, as it says, the statement of wages and contributions. These were the exhibits attached to the affidavits of Garth Lucian Wilkin. So nobody in Social Security gave me that information, Miss Byron. This information was filed with the court by Garth Lucian Wilkin. His affidavits had statements, the first one dated November 2020, and the last one dated December 2022. These are the statements or the exhibits filed by Garth Lucian Wilkin. So I humbly ask Ms. Byron to retract that statement, and perhaps again you can call tonight, that will be adequate for me, at 663-6672. if you are listening to the program tonight, and retract that statement that somebody in Social Security gave me that information about Garth Wilkin. Nothing further from the truth. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I am not going to change it. I tarried long tonight because it is important, very important, that we really clarify these issues about Garth Lucian Wilkin and the transgression, the breaking of the law. Nothing to do with me. It has to do with Social Security. He broke the law. So I'm going to open the lines now, my Straight Talk family. I'm going to entertain your calls and your emails. But before I do, and I anticipate I'll hear from Miss Byron. I think she lives over there at Beacon Heights. If she's listening, just call 663-6672 and just retract that statement. I beg you tonight, please. It's in your interest to do so. When I open the lines, and I'll do so now, I expect you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in saying those things and doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm going to give you back your time tonight. We lost some time in the earliest. I'll give it back to you if you so desire. My Straight Dog family, I go to the lines, call you live. I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself? I wish, I beg you, please do, yes. Always. No matter what they say, I always have my facts. I don't talk without facts, I can assure you. That's what God found out himself. What's on your mind, though, my brother? Well, the agriculture is still the same, you know. The farmers are saying the same thing. Yes.
Okay. I thought I tried to talk to Samuel to get him do something. Get those tractors. Is June coming just now? And is it if you don't use up the 25 million you say you get, you're not. It's gonna go back in.
Well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens and see. He's somewhere in Europe, I understand, as part of.
Oh, he's back. He's back. Okay. I sent him in the school yesterday. He's back.
Okay. All right, my brother. I'll take another call, and good to hear as usual.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for your input. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Thank you for holding.
Good night, my forever loving brother.
How are you, my dear brother?
Patrick, how are you doing?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
I am humble and peaceful too. But I am cross like a lion and an elephant when problems affected me. I am calling for an arrest for the Attorney General. I'm putting out a warrant for his arrest to explain his unacceptable behavior contrary to the laws of Social Security. I am putting out a citizen arrest for the Attorney General. I know what citizen arrest means. Anyone can arrest the Attorney General. Neither me, nor him, nor you is above the law. A citizen arrest for his crime. I have another issue, and it's a personal issue. I was robbed by a con artist, And I want the federation and the world to know. I'm calling out people when they do something because they've been doing something wrongfully. But they never been caught, they never been prosecution. And this is a national interest. A gentleman who worked at Custom and Port, he did and committed grand larceny to me. He talked me into buying a car. I trusted him and I gave him the money. Including to it, the car belongs to somebody who don't even know their car is up for sale under this man. His name is Tony Powell.
My brother, please, unless you can give me that comfort, right, that you are not going to expose me to any form of litigation. I do not want you to call any names on this program. Please, now understand me. Okay. I am not doubting you for one moment, but I cannot verify what you said, and I would like you, please, to just rescind it. Can you?
I will yield to that. I will yield to that. I know you would have stopped me, but I premeditated it.
So why? So why are you going to do that? If you have information, give me the information. Once you give me the information, you could tell the whole world.
You cannot be sued. I will defend you.
No, but please don't ever do that. Please don't ever do that. I know you. Okay. I know who you are. You know me, and you're a highly intelligent person, and I don't expect that from you. And just for the moment, until you can provide that information, if you want to continue, you have to rescind that statement and call in that whoever that guy's name is.
I apologize to you, but this is my apology. But I will stop. I will call again on the issue that is the topic. Thank you for that little time. I will just take a breath. Thank you.
Thank you for your understanding, my brother. Thank you very much for your understanding. We really we have to provide the facts. When you hear me talk, I always have the facts. And I want you to get accustomed to that. Talk the truth. Do not be afraid to talk the truth, because the truth is the only defense to defamation. That's why Garth Wilkin lapped his leg and went home, because he bumped into the truth. No speculation. When you speak the truth, the only thing you have to be afraid of, if you are fearsome, is you will have to stand alone. But a lion stands alone. Sheep, beg your pardon, they go in flocks. So be a lion, stand alone, but talk the truth. My Straight Talk family, it's 9:26. The lines are open. I'll take a few emails as well. My Straight Talk family, 663-6672. And or 646-829-6672 as well. Our email address, straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. If Miss Byron again is listening, please call Straight Talk and retract that erroneous statement about Patches. Someone in Social Security gave Patches the information. Caller, you're live.
Mr. Straight Talk?
How are you, my brother? How is...
Very, very well.
Good to hear you.
How are you and the family?
Peaceful. We are peaceful, my brother. We are peaceful. Long to see you.
You really are peaceful.
Yes, I am.
I tell you that when you see people coming on your show want to talk dirty politics, you have to find a way to get them behind. But anyway, you did well. Listen, Mr. Straight Talk. I was in my bed and I couldn't believe what I'm hearing from our Prime Minister and Mr. Congress and Mr. Duggins. All they talk about is smart. No, he say he going and build a smart hospital. and he going and build smart house. America don't have no smart house, no. America don't have no smart hospital. So when they want to fool little think it's about smart hospital and smart house. You have a smartphone, you have a smart TV, you have a smart watch. So that's how smart these houses gonna be. Can you explain to me? Mr. Cheta, that's a sensible man there. Have education from it to hear that. And you're going to tell people you're going to build smart house and a smart hospital. It's two biggest hospitals in America. One is in New York and one is in California. And them not smart hospital. Them not smart. And me was in one. And there's nothing other hospital have like those two hospitals. So when them talk about smart hospital, tell them, see, it's technology hospital they have to start, not smart. Understand? Because man can, imagine you have a smart house. That rain can't wet it then now. But that's what they say in the want to build smart this, smart that. But Mr. Stratak, you're doing a wonderful job, see? And listen, let's keep Mr. God, Hussein, whatever. I don't know. But Mr. God, you have to do what you have to do. You done wrong, and we're going to take you to the wrong place. So let's continue to keep up the fight, Mr. Stratak, and I'm going to hold him to it. Because you hear what he says? He's going to embarrass people, and he embarrass you. He embarrass you. That your poor thing couldn't even look, no radio station want to keep your hand. So that alone tells me something. Mr. Stratak, you're doing a wonderful job. Just continue to do what you got to do. Mr. Cotton Ground, it was so nice hearing you. Mr. Jamaican, we are still waiting for you. And Mr. Monstrat, all the rest are back on board. Mr. Stratak, be good. I'll see you when I see you. Keep sweet.
See you when I see you, my brother. You take care of yourself now. It's 9:30. We're right to the bottom of the hour. I want to say to the host of Inside the News last Saturday's program that you were very quick to hold your entire program on the resignation of Akila Byron Nisbet. But it continues, you dare not keep a program to ask the citizens should the Attorney General resign voluntarily or should the Prime Minister dismiss him from the cabinet. One day after he resigned from PLP, with alacrity, you had to discuss the situation, but the Attorney General matter you cannot discuss. You are very biased and too weak to be called a journalist, my brother, reads that email. This other email reads, Dr. Harris, the so-called weak and biased journalist on Win FM, said he wants a comment from you concerning the resignation of Akila. Have nothing to say to him, Dr. Harris. His intention is to make you a political spectacle. Let him go and ask the AG why he broke the Social Security law. He is an NRP in Nevis and a Labour man in St. Kitts singing for his supper. Caller, thank you for holding your live.
Good evening, Dr. Ian. Smart program. How are you?
Smart DJ.
Oh my God. Everything smart. A smart Gert Wilkins smart, so.
Smart.
Why you paying 3 batteries?
Yes, smart AG.
No, listen this here. Can you imagine a woman pregnant, belly big like a full pumpkin, working for somebody, and they're taking out the woman money and not paying no social security, and the woman something have to come. She cannot claim nothing in there. And I mean, a flat belly person will have to go
a flat belly person will have to go in and claim the social security benefit or whatever it is for the sick. Never mind a woman pregnant. And then he call himself Attorney General. And hear him now, when he's swearing in, he will do his duty without ill or favors. So help me God. So help me God. Which one the God? A board God? The man break the law and he should be in prison because I have a good friend. He passed on and I miss him very well. You know who he is? Patrice.
Yes.
Right. He been in 1840 many times and he never afraid to say why he went in there.
Yes.
He went in because he owed money and that was the decision they decided to do, to put him in there. And they call it debtor's jail or whatever it is. Where Gart Wilkins supposed to be in there for what he do too. But it seems like some people standing up on the law and some underneath the law. That is why you see a lot of things were happening all over the world. Because of injustice to people, why a lot of things does happen. Good does happen and bad does happen. And when the bad happen to a lot of people who do injustice, they walk and say, well, oh, somebody set up that and never set up. It ain't no set up nothing. It's what you do. The good come back to you, the bad come back to you. Now let me go a little bit here to PLP quick before I go. I hear Mr. Perfect today, Mr. Otley Jesus, the man who never seen nothing right being done by Unity or PLP. He take whatever been done right and good by Unity and PLP and call it wrong. He's saying that PLP could never come back. Well, I had to let him know that he's Otley Jesus because where that individual was walking, that individual ignored his duty and certain participants in that place, they went out, they drop out, and others come in, and that business continue. So if that business could continue under that condition, that individual left it or leave it, why PLP cannot come back? Everybody calling for Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris, when you see them on the corner, just pass me, you hear them saying, boy, nothing doing. Nothing doing, I broke, so I can't pay me rent. We want back Dr. Harris because these here don't know what they're doing. That Taliban man from Monkey don't know what he's doing. All he's in his mind is money.
Okay.
And the way he talk, you could see that he only concentrating on money. All of them.
Okay.
Gone in there so they make government, and every minute they go and complain. Go and complain for what? Go learn how to deal with water and how to make water. Anyway, Patrice, go down, let some people come in here because time short.
Thank you. Thanks for your understanding, my dear brother. We go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Paternal greetings.
Greetings, my brother.
I turn on night to your brother Patrice and bless the night to the listeners by radio internet. How your night and your day was doing for the time being with the Lord the Almighty?
Peaceful, my brother. Peaceful. You know, I take it one day at a time. I'm at peace with my God. I'm at peace with myself, and I'm at peace with the world.
Well, give thanks for life, because life enjoy forever.
Yep.
And we never die. So, me just say, me listen to the program for me get go within your list and how you pursue with your information towards what is in take to dissect to the nation and the world. I would like to say this here generally. In the aspect of the claimants and the respond what is taken, we have seen the law have broken in front of our eyes. Time now we have seen further wise education. I was on the call and said, he have a citizen arrest. He said, he can charge me have upon the face of this evil act. that we've seen in front of all our people eyes. Not from the AG itself, but the whole entire leadership of what the world is emphasizing. Because even under the farm administration, we see a lot of terrible things that occurred or were broken by constitutional laws, and we're still seeing these things occurring. That's what we say. It's time now we change this crooked constitution that I hold up for so long. If we really serious about justice in our country, in our federation, and that's what I am speaking on tonight to you. Because we don't come here to play up with no part of what I are stating on this format here. Because everything else we will counting on is the same mess from the in, whoever got in there. Because it's favoritism in the context of these jokey politicians, that demons, that part of the Masons. I mean, if you to say it, any prime minister thinks it's a Nevis hole, from Simmons to Dr. Jude, have Mason members. That's why I say things can broken and we can't use the system and these things here. So that's why I say to this country and the old crooked, dirty world that we say we're so holding up. It's time to release the truth and stop fight against the creator, because I continue this year. A judgment will come at this face of the earth, you know. Because double standard need to move from white out to the side. So you have to take by education, and the youth them can't be falling by these work of garbage I giving them in social media. It's a entire setup and the youth they made. That's why I say it's time to educate, and we're going to continue breaking on one another. Blessed love, brother. Have a safe night.
Blessed love as well, my dear brother, always assertive to the point. Good evening, Patches reads this email. I have listened to the apologists who have been trotted out to defend Attorney General Wilkin in this saga. As it's a pure and utter nonsense, foolishness, I say. I read the decision of Justice Gill, and it is crystal clear. In order to decide on whether you defamed or could have defamed Garth Wilkin on Straight Talk, the court had to come to a position of finding of fact as to whether he committed the offenses. Your defense to his claim of defamation was the defense of truth, but you still had to prove the truth. The court was able quite easily to arrive at a position of fact that Attorney General Wilkin committed the offenses not only because of what you allege in your defense, but more importantly, by the admissions and evidence submitted to the court as contained in Garth Wilkin's own sworn affidavits and attachments thereto. Attorney General Wilkin provided the Social Security employer statements, which demonstrated conclusively that he had committed the offenses. There is no need for a trial to determine whether he broke the law or whether in doing so it constituted criminal offenses. He admitted that he broke the law. Garth Lucien Wilkin committed criminal offenses when he was a lawyer practicing in his law firm. He did so again when he was president of the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association, and again when he was in public office as our Attorney General. Deducting an employee's contributions and not paying it over to Social Security as prescribed by law is a breach of trust, and it goes to the heart of honesty, or the honesty of Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin. I make bold to say that if this was anywhere else in the world, Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin would have already have been fired, and he would already be the subject of ethics, or the subject of an ethics violation investigation by the association, reads this email. This other email reads, Miss Henry, you are so correct. McMahon and many other Labour Party supporters want to have a one-party system state government with the Labour Party fully in control. Yes, that is what they want, including the Friday afternoon groundless crew. Read this email. My Straight Talk family, I just got some sad news. And I hope I am not reading it accurately, in that there's a shooting in McKnight and someone was killed. And that's what I started talking about earlier, when the Prime Minister spoke to the pastor on a show in terms of what was being done over the years in relation to the alternative lifestyle program. And my Straight Talk family, it is sad to learn that there is another murder in our country tonight, following the double murder on Saturday night. And I believe that this administration and its leader must take stock of what they are doing. After bringing back peace to this country with over 360 murders under the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration for 20 years, when we were afraid to walk out, when we were afraid to move from point A to point B, even sometimes in the daily hours, and to hear a Prime Minister scoff at the program that brought back peace to this land, I say it was saddening. Here's what he said.
We have come to recognize that there was a program in place that had not been fully built out, that there were a lot of gaps. It's almost as if you were putting a plaster on a sore. And so one of our first measures is to strengthen what is called the alternative lifestyle program. And so we have started a process of registering with we have also engaged consultants who will be doing programs, specific programs. Not only, there will be some consult with consultants who will now start in earnest a program specifically geared at youths at risk. That program is due to start, I would say, next month, and we are going to streamline the program.
Every month, he said next month. But this reads, my Straight Talk family, this email. Sam, what is wrong with you, boy? You still talking about Harris and campaign funds? Since Peter Richards, the former journalist of Win FM, was here, he virtually said to you that you were talking nonsense. Sam, because you continue talking about campaign funds and you have no evidence, you came back. Sam came back, Sam, and promised that you have the evidence and the matter will be taken to court. To this day, Sam, you cannot find any evidence yet. Just stop lying. You do not, or you cannot be trusted. Read this email. Dear Patches, read this other email. I commend you highly for keeping the pressure on the AG. But she must also investigate lawyer Leon Charles, who is the legal officer at Social Security. It is him who allows the AG a free hand without taking him to court, but has sent over 50 poor people to the court recently. Good governance is urgently needed at the Social Security. Too much corruption down there from since memorial. It must stop. The truth must be told at the Social Security Board. What are they hiding down Social Security? What goes for one must go for all. They need to get rid of Charles and the AG. I believe that the process is that the legal officer or lawyer, if he's called, I don't know what's his title at Social Security, Mr. Charles, I think he has to get approval of the delinquent list or list of delinquent employers to be approved by the CEO. So let's hope that he sends all employers, all, and not discriminate. Not discriminate at all. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your live.
Yeah. Okay, Patches.
I'm sorry.
I'm here again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here. Good night, Dimple. Patches, let me say something here quick about the PLP. Man gone, man ya, no one monkey stop the show. Woman gone, woman ya, no one monkey stop the show. PLP is stronger every day. Because that is the party who cares about people's lives. And when the unity was in, the crime was down. And you hear what the man from Monkey say? He's like putting a plaster on a sore. Well, he take off the plaster off the sore, and the sore is exposed to the fly them. And when fly go up on your sore, it put bacteria there. So that's what happened now. The sore get worse. And I hope that that information where you just said that another shooting, I hope that is not true. I hope so. Because that will only make it 3 murders, homicide in a matter of 3 days. That is the fertilizer for homicide is spread out around the crime activity again. Under this new government, the leader don't know what he doing. He talking about it coming out about this vengeance against people who have done no wrong to the country nor him. Since he take over, look at the condition of the hospital. Look at it, and he's a doctor. Let he go and study the hospital. Smart hospital is smart because when you go in a smart hospital and you're in there, that's where the hospital comes smarter than you and kill you. But unless somebody is coming again. Thank you so long.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. It's 9 before the 10 o'clock hour. We'll provide some additional time. I'll give you back your time that you gave. I deprived you of tonight. But again, some sad news just being confirmed that there's another homicide in our beloved land. And what's really troubling as well about these homicides is that the Minister of National Security remains silent, hasn't mentioned a word, not a word. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Hello, Patrick.
Yes, my brother. Hello.
Patrick.
Yes, jump down. You're live.
Why are you going on?
Well, I just heard some sad news.
Yes. I can't be the mother culture. Man gone, man ya. Woman gone, woman ya. You understand?
You're close to the equipment, jam down.
PLP PLP here to stay, you know. That that's a government look after people with money. That talk money. And Dr. Harris never deprived poor people from getting money. He watched nothing. Labor, UPP, soursop, breadfruit, potato, everybody look after. You understand? They deprived nobody for 7 years and nothing. So, you writing on the wall according to me good bad boy friend from Irish Town, the king of your corner. I don't hear the cry. The writing is on the wall, Patches. You don't hear the cry?
Yep.
Why don't you look around and see what you have done in this country? And you got all kind of man. Come on here, try to deny what you do for us in this country. Well, something wrong with the people, I think. Patches, keep on doing the good work, and God send you, you know. If God send you, have a good night, Patches.
Have a good night as well, my dear brother. And as we head to the 10 o'clock hour, I'll give you back some time that I deprived you of tonight, my Straight Dog family. And this message reads, Dear Patches, I want to bring to you and the nation's attention a very serious matter, especially in light of the present banking crisis the world is experiencing. Dr. Drew should not be the minister responsible for Social Security, well as National Bank and the Ministry of Finance. Well, National Bank is run by a board, but the government is the major shareholder. But what is obtained now is a gross conflict of interest and presents a great financial risk to the Federation. National Bank holds all of Social Security funds, over 1 billion, I'm told. Warning, warning, warning. A word to the wise is enough. Never in the history of the Federation did such a thing happen. Who is watching Dr. Drew? Everyday banks are going bankrupt. What will happen to poor people if National Bank goes bankrupt? Warning, 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 reads that email. At 9:04, I'll dispense of all the emails. Dear Patches, I want to, but that seemed to be the same message. Warning, warning, warning. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry about that. Let's take this call, my Straight Dog family. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Are you there, caller?
Yes, Patches, jam down again. Patches, I want to call on the good people at St. Kitts and Nevis to support PLP breakfast whenever, because Timothy will rise again. He will rise again. He's a good guy, and he has what we want, leadership. He has it. So, on behalf of the good people at PLP, please to support him. Give him the support. Have a good night again, Patches.
Thank you very much. Patches, the African monkey with a semi-automatic pistol said today the Attorney General was right by not paying his Social Security contribution for 15 months. But thanks to Miss Byron, who put a ribbon around the package and said this suppose something had happened to that lady, and had she gone to Social Security to make a claim, there would have been nothing. It hurts my heart to say this, but St. Kitts Nevis is a lawless country, reads this email. Patches, I heard some politically blinded people on Freedom Radio today trying to defend the Attorney General for the breaking of the law. They said every day we call in saying that the Attorney General must resign. I want the host and all those who defending the Attorney General in his law breaking to know that we will continue to call the radio station until he resigns. Two ladies called in to the show today trying to educate the host about how the Attorney General has broken the law, but the host will not listen. He is too arrogant and hard-headed and politically blinded. Not even a little consideration for the nanny. Suppose the nanny had gotten sick and to claim from Social Security, that would have been problems, reads this email. And as we wind down, my Straight Dog family, this other email reads, Garth was indifferent to the law way before he got chosen as the Attorney General. The law prohibits anybody getting ownership of a legally bounded public space. Didn't quite understand that email. My Straight Dog family, it's 10 o'clock. I'll perhaps provide you a few more minutes as I deprived you of some minutes at the top. But good night, Patches, reads this other message. Will Dr. Drew revert to the days of not accepting responsibility for the homicide rates and allowing it to roll off the back of a duck, or to roll off the back like a duck? I think that's roll off the duck back again. Just asking, reads that message. My Straight Talk family, as we wrap for tonight, no man is above the law, and no man is below it. Nor do we have to ask any man's permission when we ask him to obey the law. Obedience to the law is demanded as a right, not a favor, my Straight Dog family. Blind obedience to the law is an attribute of a good citizen. To the contrary, defying the law in any form is delinquency, which deserves to be condemned. A law-abiding conformist is an asset for the society, while the law-breaking individual is a veritable liability. The rule of law, I submit, is to be upheld at all times. And I said earlier, and I'll repeat before I depart, from all historical accounts, following the demise of our first national hero, Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, the rule of law was uprooted. This couldn't happen under Bradshaw, an Attorney General breaking the law. Impossible. But the rule of law was uprooted by short-sighted successor governments after Bradshaw that set aside the rule of law for political advantage or political expediency. And that's what's happening right now. And this is my fundamental point. Democracy breaks down when public officials do not respect the law. That is why the question looms large as to whether our Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin has the moral compass to guide us in areas of good governance, transparency, and accountability. He was castigated by the High Court judge And instead of apologizing, he makes excuses. He said he pays in batches. How many batches did Garth Lucian Wilkin pay in? How many batches, we ask? He paid in batches, he said. But he also said he has the full support of his team. My team, he says. Not Jew's team, he says my team. He has the full support of his team. So he is fully aware of what he's up to.
I guess maybe if they don't ask you to resign, you ain't doing a good work. Maybe portraying me to be some criminal, some evil criminal, but I have the full support of my team.
Yes, he has the full support of his team. That's what he says. But my Straight Dog family, he has no intention to apologize for breaking the law that he's required to uphold. He said he paid in batches. And we can examine that statement one more time. Yes, he paid in 26 months, he paid in 3 batches. Between November 2020 and January 2023, 26 months, he paid in 3 batches. His first batch, November 2020 to March 2021. And he paid in April, just after he was elected president of the Bar Association on the 31st of March 2021. He paid that first batch. His second batch comprised of 50 months of delinquency. 50 months not even filing the contribution statement. Did not even file a contribution statement. Yes. But what? It's all about the rule of man. Not the rule of law. It's about the rule of man when it comes to Garth Lucian Wilkin.
We are at a proverbial fork in the road in our history. And to lead that charge, lead that change, lead us down the right path is the member for St. Christopher A. That is why he appointed me to be the anti-corruption minister. I am the anti-corruption minister. Let the people in this country know. Let it be known that this, the people's government, does not tolerate and will never tolerate abuses of the treasury by anyone. A new day and a better way is upon us. The people have asked for openness, fairness, accountability, and good governance from the people who sit on this side. That time is now to this country. Madam Speaker, I am proud personally to be a man of action, not one who just likes to bang his mouth. I can beat my chest and boast that I am a hard worker.
Beating his chest and breaking the law. And even going forward, he says this, my Straight Dog family.
Voluntarily paid all of my social security contributions. Right? Everyone should pay them on time. I encourage people to pay them on time. And now I pay them in advance. Right? And I encourage people either to pay them on time or pay them in advance.
How could you pay in advance? How many months you paid in advance? How many batches? The Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin must go. Read this email. It is totally against the Social Security Act for any employer to pay contributions in advance for any worker. This is blatant fraud. Attorney General Garth Wilkin said he will begin to pay his nanny Social Security contributions in advance. Attorney General Garth Wilkins is publicly telling us he plans to commit fraud by lying on the Social Security form by saying his nanny worked when in fact she did not work if he pays in advance. So Attorney General Wilkins plans to go to Social Security and pay contributions for April and May 2023, even though his nanny did not work. Such action must be blatant fraudulent. This is why Astafan in his commentary supported A.G. Wilkins breaking the Social Security Act. Why her sister is Tracy Kelsick, married to Ian Kelsick's brother. Ian Kelsick's uncle Fred Kelsick is married to Garth Wilkins' grandmother, who is also Shannon's grandmother. Reads that email. And this other email, my final email reads, my Straight Dog family. I think it's the same email repeated. Yes, same email repeated about the rule of man. Of my Straight Dog family, I hate to end on a sad note, but we got the sad news that there's another homicide in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that would be 7 homicides in just under 3 months. And I mentioned earlier as my second observation in review that the issue of the alternative lifestyle program, or the peace program, I think it is called, it has evoked much comment about its current disposition, which Straight Talk understands is still under review by the Jew administration. I am not aware of any comment made by the elected representative of St. Peter's, who is also the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, following those 2 or double homicides on Saturday. Over the past 7 months, the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security made a comment about the alternative lifestyle program, which he criticized, and criticized badly, when he said this about a successful program that the whole Caribbean wants to know how in St. Kitts we got this to work. He said it was like a plaster on a sore. Could you imagine that?
There was a program in place that had not been fully built out, that there were a lot of gaps. It's almost as if you were putting a plaster on a sore. And so one of our first measures is to strengthen what is called the Alternative Lifestyle Program. And so we have started a process of registering with we have also engaged consultants who will be doing programs, specific programs. Not only, there will be some consult with consultants who will now start in earnest a program specifically geared at youths at risk. That program is due to start, I will say, next month, and we are going to streamline the program.
My Straight Dog family, for the good doctor to liken the peace program to a plaster on a sore is so disingenuous. If not, it is a sad display of ignorance. And that has led to the removal of the said plaster, according to him. But to date, I started my program with 6 murders, but sad to say, it is now 7. If Dr. Drew is honest for once, he would admit that prior to 2015, there were 35 murders under the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration. And in 2019, the warring factions approached the police. There were 2 initial engagement teams set up, one on St. Kitts and one on Nevis. And there had to be a structure. These at-risk groups even established their own businesses and apprenticeships. The Prime Minister had to be in another St. Kitts Nevis to speak even the way he did about the retired Commissioner of Police and the peace program. He said this about the retired Commissioner of Police and the peace program. And that, too, I found very sad, my Straight Dog family, when the Prime Minister made such comments. But my Straight Dog family, I hold no brief for retired Commissioner of Police Hilroy Brandy. But he has left a great legacy. Brandy has left a great legacy after 42 years of unbroken service in law enforcement. And I believe he must be highly commended because he left the Federation in a spirit of peace and harmony, irrespective of what Prime Minister Drew said. He said this.
I want to say to all people that with respect to the recent increase in that short period of crime, that is not really a trend, that the forces are really putting things together. But we'll see a change in the leadership of the police with a different twist, positively, of how we wish to do things. That we want to see things put in place to help them to transition from a life of gang into a productive life. And we will make sure that we continue to work towards creating those opportunities for them.
He must have been, no doubt, in a different St. Kitts and Nevis, because this is the legacy left by Commissioner of Police retired Hilroy Brandy and his men like Addie Adams. Kudos to all these men.
Here it is that we are finding a situation where the at-risk groups in general that are not known for developing the kind of trust and confidence in law enforcement officers are now basically depending on them for a number of things. And this sort of trust and confidence that I'm speaking about has to do largely with the efforts of the Commissioner of Police, his staff, and members of his organization. They have really been performing a sterling role in that respect. So there's a renewed trust and confidence in the police that is being displayed also by citizens, as they feel the police are making great strides in guaranteeing safety and security. The program right now is administering some 580 youths. That in effect, I think, has been instrumental in creating, right, this degree of peace and harmony, that a lot of people are speaking about.
Peace and harmony. With the coming of Dr. Joe, that seemed to be the opposite. It seemed to be the opposite as well as we speak about justice and the law. Because whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas it is essential, if man is not to be compelled to have recourse as a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, the human rights should be protected by the rule of law. Despite the rule of law being the cornerstone of almost every progressive society on earth, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, it seems as though some people think that the less privileged in our society should live outside of this umbrella. And once we allow this to happen, it means that the less privileged would not have access to basic legal rights, because there's empirical evidence that not only does this exclusion significantly impact the lives of these individuals, it also impacts the overall stability, safety, economics, health, and social progress of many countries around the world. But what many right-minded people are saying tells us a person's wealth or prominence would not influence eligibility for employment or would not affect the justice he receives. My straight dog family, no man is above the law, and no man is below it. Nor do we have to ask any man's permission. We ask him to obey the law. Obedience to the law is demanded as a right, not asked as a favor. Blind obedience to the law is an attribute to a good citizen. My straight dog family, I know there are right-thinking people in this country, but this lady is one. Irrespective of her political allegiance, she tells it like it is.
Calling back concerning that situation with the AG, you have to understand that even though people with oil, electricity, water, social security, from a personal standpoint, you have to recognize that if the nanny had fallen ill and her contributions were not made in full, and she tried to make a claim, you realize that that would have put her in a little jeopardy? That is very serious, I don't mean to be funny here now, because I am an ardent supporter of this government. I know I can't be anything else based on my family background, rooted in the Labour Party. But whenever there are issues, we can't sweep them under the rug. And I say we and not me, because I want to be fair, I want to be factual about anything I'm calling about. Think for a moment that if that nanny had fallen ill and were to make a claim, you know why it is in the spotlight now? Because Mr. Wilkin is the Attorney General. That's why it's in the spotlight. Because somebody in Social Security gave Patches the information.
Well, that's the only issue I have with Miss Byron. Your erroneous statement of someone giving me the information. The Attorney General filed all his statements of contributions with the court. So as I said, I trust someone will give you that message. Please contact me as soon as possible so we can have you, or I can have you withdraw that particular erroneous statement. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I'm not going to change it. But I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I want to thank you, the callers. I want to thank you, the many listeners who religiously log on to Facebook and YouTube, my pages, to listen to the truth and nothing but the truth. those who send emails, all of you, I want you to know that without you, there is no Straight Talk. You are the ones who make Straight Talk, and I say a big, big thank you. I'm Ian Patrick, but in God's Spear, we will connect on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk. Until then, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you've got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday.
I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees to the Lord I kneel and pray with my heart and soul. Beg Him to take me through each day. My guardian to keep and my guide over every step I take. He will preside. So whatever my mind conceive that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should. Be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Now I'm on my way with strength and courage from above. No man I'll fear, since God protects me with His love. Strong, pure and true, and so sincere.